When we talk about the high quality alt season, total activity in all of crypto, we'll get to 942 million wallets by the end of this year.
Right.
By the end of 2025. It just shows you the speed this is growing. And when I looked at it, I mean, there's now twice as many of those. Let's assume the number of active users is 500 million, whatever the number is, pick your number. It's more than all of the traditional brokerage accounts added together. It's a roadmap. It's the contextualization of where we are in the cycle and what to kind of expect in all traditional markets. That's what I've got to is like, there's more active people in this because of the young cohort and all the foreigners and everybody else, because it's a global access to globalized products than exist elsewhere in all of markets.
A super acceleration is coming for Bitcoin and crypto as we enter altcoin season, and many are anticipating the bullish momentum as investors await more all-time highs. As this momentum is building, the institutions are quietly positioning themselves, and Raoul says everything is about to change. With the next bull market, and with crypto and technology being the biggest investments this year, Raoul says that he's remaining bullish on digital assets. The former Goldman Sachs executive gives a portfolio update. He says the next phase of the crypto cycle is critical, and why in 2025 we'll see massive capital pouring into the space. With major pension funds and institutional investors on board for the coming cycle, Raoul predicts that crypto is on track to be a $10 trillion digital asset class. Powell says that this cycle will separate itself from its predecessors, as devalued fiat currencies will push more adoption into the crypto market and bring in more capital than we've ever seen before. Let's get right into the latest interview with Raoul as he gives his market prediction for the days and weeks ahead. Drop your comments down below and subscribe if you enjoy the content we do here.
When we talk about the high quality alt season, quality layer ones, revenue generating projects, and a few big things that capture attention, whatever they may be, that don't come with revenues or anything else, but they capture attention. We're seeing, Hyperliquid's obviously one of them, maybe Athena's another. We're seeing, obviously, SUI, Solana, because before Ethereum, to your point, back in 2021, with the economic activity that was going there, was too expensive. It was the California of the crypto economy, and everyone's like, yeah, we love it here, it's amazing, but I can't afford to live here any longer.
Yeah, we don't like the policy, so we're going to move.
And welcome to Solana. I keep an eye on that crypto.com number of active wallets metric, which is now at 900 million. It was 600 last year. Now suddenly it's like, we're going to get to 1 billion by Q1 of next year. We're starting to see picking up in activity overall, but it's still not quite perfect. But overall activity about, how is this new global economy, so not the regional economies of Ethereum versus Solana, but the global economy doing, total value that's happening on this. Because, that's something I think we don't step back enough, and I try and do that as much as possible, just to say, how we doing? And I've talked about it with the number of wallets. Super interesting to know what the total activity in all of crypto is.
So right there you have, the lion's share of all settlement value across the, across the crypto ecosystems. Now, Solana and SUI, which has really raced up, the growth rates in SUI this year have been phenomenal. And I'm trying to dig a little bit deeper in terms of like the, where that value is sort of flowing from and to.
I think it's because I did the work on it in GMI and looked at its relative growth versus Solana, because similar fast performant modern chains. And it's massively outstripping the speed. Obviously it's at earlier stage. So of course the rate of change, it seems that it's the Bitcoin settlement layer that's big, plus stablecoins are moving fast. And the DeFi ecosystem is starting to work as well.
Yeah. So Bitcoin on SUI.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was genuinely surprised that SUI had increased its position in terms of settlement values to where it is now, where it's rivaling Solana. So that's pretty phenomenal. BNB still there. It does.
And again, just again for people to frame this is the settlement value of Metcalfe's law. When you look at Solana, there's more active users. So of course Solana's still worth more than Sui, which doesn't have as many active users, even though it's settling the same amount. It's like Doge has a lot of value as a market cap because it has a lot of active users and holders and less so of the on-chain activity. So it's like you can have different variations of this that drives the overall market cap value.
Yeah. And there's no perfect mix as well. I would argue that application diversity, is a very important metric overall. That takes time, and Solana has that.
Because if not, it's like, again, going back to the economic example, it's like the Saudi Arabian economy is just oil. Can be very profitable, very rich, but it's so driven by one factor. So the more diversified the economy, like the US economy, for example, the better it is. I mean, I wonder what total daily value is. A couple of trillion a day. I wonder what we totally do across all of crypto, Bitcoin, smart contracts, the whole lot.
Yeah. So it's around 70 billion in terms of settlement value on chain a day.
70 billion in settlement value versus kind of call it 4 trillion in total value, right?
Yes, that's right. For the last 5 years is $57 trillion. Smart contract platforms, that excludes Bitcoin.
We seem to be going faster than the projection because we were projecting about a 43% annual growth, but it looks like at this stage, but it looks like it's still growing faster than that. So it's still growing faster than the internet was at this stage, which is an extraordinary thing.
Raoul says it's the fastest pace of adoption of any investable asset in all of human history. By the end of 2025, there will be 1.1 billion active crypto wallets. The pace of growth is hard to comprehend, and it will be the fastest accumulation of wealth we have ever seen. This is the conclusion of a career's worth of research. And every single chart and piece of research leads to the same conclusion. Liquidity drives everything, and crypto will be the best performing asset of them all. Raoul has been stressing to investors for months that all the factors are beginning to align right now, a period characterized by parabolic moves upwards in crypto prices.
I looked at the on-chain data on Bitcoin, the ETF flows between Bitcoin and Ethereum, and obviously the price action. And it very much lines up with, that transition period in the crypto market from Bitcoin dominance to high quality alts, not a dash for trash sort of market that we saw in 2021 when people were getting stimulus checks, but a high quality alt season.
How are you thinking this next phase is, and what are the types of tokens that participate?
Yeah, I like the way that you've just distilled that down into a very clear sort of representation of what really matters. Cash flows, are there protocols that are fundamentally strong, meaning that they have cash flows, they have usage, they deliver utility, and have very strong tokenomics. And there are a handful of those, and they are being rewarded by the market as they should. I've always had this view that as the asset class grows and as the, for lack of a better term, sophistication of the marginal new investor comes in, that they're going to look at fundamentals more and more. That's always been my base case. And I think that's playing out. I mean, you mentioned Hyperliquid generating a huge amount, generating the sort of cash flow revenues that would make a, NASDAQ 100 company sort of water, like in terms of just the growth. In terms of like the multiples, I know we're not talking like for like, but in the case of Hyperliquid, it's trading on a revenue multiple that would put it, in the median of a tech stock in the S&P. But it is those high quality tokens, L1s, and the DeFi protocols, and the things that will grab attention because that is not going away. Memes are definitely not going away. In fact, I'm starting to entertain maybe my first meme position, which we can talk about later. Because
By the way, the Doge ETF launches tomorrow. So by the time this is out, it'll have launched.
It's a much more discerning market, and you're not seeing the broad-based rally. I mean, we're still, I think, early stages of this sort of broadening out, or alt season for lack of a better term. But it is going to be a very discerning type rally until we get to the end, when there will be short-term pumps and small caps, real small caps with, no product market fit that will start running. And that is on my, that's on my checklist for a market peak. And we're not there yet.
So let's first talk about layer ones. And you and I have kicked this around for a long time. I don't believe that revenue is, revenue accrued to the chain itself is the key metric. Where is your measures? Because you look at liquidity too, and you've been posting some stuff on X about it. Give us your top down where we are on the liquidity cycle from your perspective.
So I think April for me was the demarcation of an important inflection in liquidity, because I have my own global liquidity index, as do you, and they're all sort of like proxies for kind of what we think global liquidity is, and they differ a little bit. But once you regress these things, they have a very strong correlation. And if you do sort of like predictive measures like Granger, causality, and whatever, yes, it does have very significant predictive value. So I do use it a lot, but I also, appreciate that it's not a perfect one-for-one for global liquidity.
No, and people get confused over that. It's a roadmap. It's the contextualization of where we are in the cycle and what to kind of expect, as opposed to, oh, well, it went up today, so in a month's time it'll go up. It's like, it doesn't work that way.
Which is why they've got marginal new dollars coming into the financial system to buy assets in the first place. So, but that sort of what I call like a super bullish regime, which is just like using technical analysis on global liquidity, looking at the breakout that happened in April, gives us runway for another, typically though these periods of like the breakouts last for about 2 years based on previous cycles.
Powell stresses this pattern is normal and necessary to flush out weak hands and reset leverage. He highlights Bitcoin's high correlation to global liquidity, which remains supportive, even during temporary liquidity air pockets. He believes the market is setting up for another strong leg higher. Similarly, Bitwise CIO Matt Haugen supports this view, pointing to a dip-then-rip pattern, where sharp pullbacks are typically followed by massive rallies, up to 190% gains historically. Both argue that patience, not panic, is key. The banana zone is alive, just misunderstood. As the momentum in the crypto market is building, and institutions are positioning themselves, Raoul Pal says everything is about to change. He says the next phase of the crypto cycle is critical, and he's stacking big bets in his portfolio right now. With the next bull market, and with crypto and technology being the biggest investments this year, Raoul Pal says that he's remaining bullish on digital assets after significantly increasing his position size during the last bear market. The former Goldman Sachs executive gives a portfolio update on which crypto assets have the biggest upside in the coming months. He says we're about to see massive capital pouring into the crypto space. With major pension funds and institutional investors on board for the coming cycle, Raoul Pal predicts that crypto is on track to be a $10 trillion digital asset class. Pal says that this cycle will separate itself from its predecessors, as devalued fiat currencies will push more adoption into the crypto market and bring in more capital than we've ever seen before. Bitcoin is one that is headed for an unprecedented price milestone, and Raoul foresees a financial tidal wave that will catapult cryptocurrency to new highs. Raoul Pal says the crypto world is on the brink of something massive, a seismic shift for Bitcoin and crypto in what he calls the banana zone. As the momentum is building and the institutions are quietly positioning themselves, Raoul says everything is about to change. He recently shared his take on the current economic uncertainty, with tariffs and recession fears creating market volatility, that a major market rally is on the horizon. And that's where Bitcoin comes in. Bitcoin has been trading more like a risk asset lately, meaning if the market recovers, Bitcoin is expected to surge alongside it. But the uncertainty is key here. If the market remains stuck in limbo, Bitcoin could face short-term pressure. So we could see a sharp recovery in the next week. The bottom line, Bitcoin's next big move depends on how this plays out.